They're firmly on the scale of not bad for me. Okay. Now, one thing that these guys did was they took a game and it was a really hard genre to make. They wanted to do something that, quite honestly, we struggle with when we play the game. We see a lot of issues, and they fixed a few of them. And you'll see it in the game. These guys did a lot of hard work, and on behalf of myself and Phil, I'd like to thank you guys for all the work you guys did. Please welcome in Team Misfits.
Alright, how's everyone feel out there today? Okay, wait a second. Okay. I'd like to really thank you guys for coming today. We really appreciate it. The continued support that we've gotten from everyone in this project. We worked really hard on it. My name is Eric Holloway. I'm a 3D artist here on Team Misfits, which we have been appropriately named. I'd like to take a minute. I want to introduce you guys to our teammates. We're going to start over here with the development team. First up, we got Rebecca Howe. We got Harry Scott. Chris Burns. James Yates. Brian Archibald. Mitchell Weisrock. And last but not least, Ben Valente. Oh wait, no. And I forgot to mention we have a tech lead over here. His name's Alan Small. Now I'd like to introduce you guys to the art team. To start off with our art lead, we've got Ryan Nash. Louis Dorn. Gabriel Cardozo, Robert Riabby, and of course myself, Eric Holloway. I'm going to pass it off to my good friend James here. He's going to talk to you a little bit about the gameplay of Noxious.
Thank you, Eric. Alright, thank you all for coming out. I can't say that enough. To actually see people here. So, here to talk about Noxious, the game we may have made, or not. Alright, so set it up. It's a third-person shooter. You are a researcher trapped in a lab, and you have to escape. So the way you do that is we navigate the player through the level, and you've got to hit all the power terminals to get power back to the big gun in the room, so you can blow a hole in the wall and escape. Because that's clearly what you want to do in this situation. So to combat this, you have enemies that are going to try and hinder your progression, and you also, to kill them, you get cool weapons, because everybody likes cool guns. Alright, so this is our tester coil. You can see up here on stage. These are the things you're going to try and activate throughout the level and make sure that the power gets to the gun. These are the consoles that the player is going to interact with. This kind of marks the progression through the level and tells them, this is where checkpoint is, and this is where you're going to get upgrades. So to help guide the player through the level, you're going to see these power cables kind of running through the facility. So the blue ones are kind of going to go towards where your next objective is, while the orange ones are going to be ones you've already activated. So here we see the giant awesome cannon. It's actually its technical name. And so once the player has gotten all the coils activated, that's his end objective to get out. So this is our weapon, modeled by Mr. Eric Holloway. This is how you're going to shoot. You've got your energy bullets, homing missiles, a shield, and a power shot ability that gets activated with the shoot. Now, we'll talk about those enemies that are going to try and hinder your progression through the level. This is our first guy. He's the Spitter. He's our ranged enemy to kind of pop through the level using his holes that he's dug to try and move around and get at the player. He's followed with his two friends. The Swarmer, who's a flying melee enemy, and they spawn out of the hive or just kind of pop out of the vents at the player. And they're very mobile and kind of fast moving. And then we have the Big Daddy, we have the Tank. He's a big guy, he drops out of the ceiling, because that's where tanks hide. And it's very armor-plated in the front, so the player's got to find a way to kind of maneuver around him and get shots on him in the back. Now here to talk about the art that inspired the game is Mr. Nash.
Alright guys, thanks for coming out. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the art that went into making Noxious. So at the start of any major art project, you usually go out and get reference first to get inspiration from. So here we can see some of our main inspirational images. We chose a lot of different concept art from sci-fi games like Halo and Dead Space. And so we just kind of took a look at these and tried to base our art style around these main inspirational pieces. We gained stuff like color scheme, shape, the type of sci-fi we wanted to do. So after we got some reference, we went into our basic concept stage. And what we did here was we sat down and had these concept sessions where we talked about the things that we want in the game, and we drew everything on the whiteboard. And we found that this was a great way for all the artists to get their ideas out quickly, to critique each other's ideas, and just we'd have these discussions about the concept. And this was a really great way to do our concept. And so from there, we went to our final concept stage. We developed a color scheme that we liked. And we used it throughout all of our concept. We rendered out all the different assets, how we really wanted them to look down to the detail. And so you can see how the color scheme is applied throughout all of our assets. And then to get a little bit of the idea of the process we went through, making assets for the game, you can see that we started with the basic concept off the whiteboard that we liked, and then we really hatched it out and made it what we want it to be. We rendered it out with color, and then moved to 3D and built textures for it. So that's kind of the process we went through making all the assets. And now to talk a little bit about tech is Brian Arbuckle.
Thank you, Mr. Nash. Now, technology, I could talk about code and instantly put 90% of the room to sleep. So to piggyback off what Mr. Nash is talking about, I'm going to talk about pretty pretty pictures. Now, our team already put in a pretty awesome effort. As you can see, everything pretty much looks great. They had a lot of concept, a lot of work went into making the game look great. So we figured, let's add some post-processing on top of that to make it look even better. Now, a post-process effect is kind of like a layer that goes on top of the final image to add a little bit more highlight, a little bit more depth, add just something extra to the scene that we couldn't do with just straight art. So again, we're really trying to go for depth and highlight to the scene, and since we're trying to make a horror game, kind of a little bit of survival horror there, we wanted to set the mood a bit. So, start off, no post-processing, this is just straight art. Looks pretty awesome. It's a little flat. Don't really get your eye drawn to any different part of the scene. Still looks good. So we're going to add some lights. So we got some lighting out there. Adds a little bit more depth. The ceiling definitely seems to vault out a little bit. It's a little more shadowy. It looks a little more sinister. On top of that, just to set the mood even further, we're going to go with a little bit of glow and a little bit of fog. Glow kind of gives you that sci-fi look. Things like that little target on the left kind of pops. Looks a little glowy, very yellow. Got a little orange lights on everything. Kind of sets the mood. And then you got that dank fog in the background. Really sets the whole tone of Noxious. Now to talk about things that went right, things went wrong, I'm going to pass it off to our tech lead, Mr. Small.
Alright, thank you, Brian. So first of all, of course, our team is just awesome. But with any group project, unfortunately, things don't always go as planned. One of the biggest problems we had in the beginning was just coders and artists trying to get on the same page about everything. We work in two completely different departments for so long, and we have to just suddenly start working together to make an awesome game in 5 months. So we had a little bit of trouble in the beginning getting art assets into the game, but of course we overcome those hurdles eventually. Another thing we had a problem with is just the amount of people we had in the group. We had so many people. One of the largest groups when we started, 16. This created a problem with design. Our game was so big conceptually, we had to cut it down, and what people wanted to cut and what people didn't want to cut, it just took so long to come to any final decision. But with that, is some things that went right. The amount of people we had is also